Hey everyone, I've got about 40 minutes. Sorry for the bad connection and all that. Sorry for the poor connection, but yeah, I've got about 40 minutes to go here on my lunch. I want to do this real quickly before I get some lunch. Yes, it is warm today. It is 1:01 right now. It is about 1:30 or 1:31 in the afternoon. But I wanted to give my thoughts, as you see in the title, live here today. I wanted to give my thoughts on Big Cass's heel turn last night on Monday Night Raw. And quite frankly, I do agree with a lot of people. This in a sense was a much needed direction for creative to go with Enzo and Cass. I mean, behind the scenes they're good friends. Behind the scenes they're good buddies. They're like brothers. And I think they both realized that, hey, they ain't getting anywhere right now in the tag team division. A lot of people have speculated that if it wasn't for the Hardys returning at WrestleMania, that Enzo and Cass probably would have became the tag team champion. And that's probably true. You know, I don't put, any of that past. I don't put any of that past the creative team on WWE, despite any brand, that they're involved in. I don't put that past them, because the plan was, basically from the get-go to put the tag team titles on Cass and Enzo. And they would have done that at WrestleMania had the Hardys not returned. Now, according to Dave Meltzer and I guess Brian Alvarez, there are no long-term plans to make this a long-time feud between Cass and Enzo. It's basically Cass is probably going to put over Enzo. Enzo's going to put over Cass. They're probably, by logic, if I was to guess how many matches they'll have, either on pay-per-view or both on pay-per-view and Raw, I would have to say that they're going to end up probably having 3 matches, and Cass is going to win 2 of the matches, thus being the one that wins the feud, and basically in storyline proving his point that he's always been the better star. He's always been the bigger star. He's always been the guy that like he said last night, he's basically one of the guys, if not the guy, that the money lies within, that the money lies with, that he's money, that basically he is what he said last night, that he's the future, he's the money. And like I said, I can project them probably having a couple matches, 3 matches at least, maybe one on Raw. I can expect one maybe at Great Balls of Fire. I expect one on Raw, and I can probably expect a blow-off at SummerSlam. I can expect that, because to me it would work tremendously. It would work tremendously for both men. Now, Meltzer and Alvarez, well, at least Alvarez, kind of commented that after it's all said and done, Big Cass is going to be moving forward towards that destination that WWE's always wanted him in, that top position. Well, he has said that Enzo's best chance and so best option is 205 Live. And honestly, that might happen, but I don't think it will. Here's why I don't think it's going to happen. Here's why I don't think that's going to happen, because there are various sources going around that, when this breakup was going to happen, both men were going to benefit from it. Both men were going to become something out of it. individually. And a lot of people have said that it's kind of like, a lot of people at one point thought, Enzo could be like the Shawn Michaels of the group. Like, it may not look like he'll go anywhere, but when the breakup happens, he's going to be destined for greatness. He's going to be destined for greatness. He's going to be the one that's, just surprises everybody and is a little bit more successful than Cass. As a matter of fact, he'll be the one that ends up probably winning the championship before Cass does. Now, whether or not that's being part of 205 Live, that's getting a match with Miz if he's still champion and beating Miz for the Intercontinental title, it's all up in the air. Heck, even if it's like teaming with Big Show and becoming tag team champions, I pretty much look at the fact that yes, they could put Enzo on 205 Live, but what's that going to do? How is that going to benefit him? I mean, yeah, he'd probably have some tremendous matches. He'd probably have some tremendous matches with guys like Aries and Neville and Gallagher and Nice and Daivari and Akira and all of them. He'd probably have tremendous matches. But in the end, what good? What's going to happen? The first championship he wins. The first championship he wins before Cass wins any championship. What is the cruiserweight title? Okay, that's great. That's nice and all, but how is he going to really elevate it? Yeah, you could probably say, oh well, he'll bring some personality to 205, much needed personality to 205 Live. That might be good, but they already got some much needed personality. They got it in Aries, they got it in Neville, and before you know it, they're gonna probably have it in Roderick Strong. They'll probably have it quite possibly in Eric Young if they don't put Eric Young directly on the main roster as part of SmackDown or Raw. They're gonna get that. They can get it with Hideo Itami if they decide to put Itami on 205 Live. The point is, and they even have it Brian Kendrick when he's there. The point is, Enzo could bring a lot of personality and a lot of attention maybe to 205 Live, but I think the best option WWE is going to go with him is basically proving Cass wrong. Is that even if Cass wins two out of the three matches that they have against each other, that Enzo's going to be the one, maybe the night after the feud's over, the rivalry's over, Enzo's the one that ends up becoming the success. He ends up winning a championship, either with someone like Big Show as his partner, or he wins a singles title on his own in an upset against someone like the same Miz. I could see that happening. And then, in a sense, you can kind of tease that maybe nothing's really settled yet, or maybe you could do something that would move Cass to SmackDown. That's right. You see, Big Cass can be a huge draw on Raw if booked right. If booked creatively correct, Big Cass could be, as some people have perceived him. In fact, even reports say Vince McMahon himself perceived Cass as being the next Kevin Nash, the next Diesel, the next Big Daddy Cool. And that is a possibility. That is a strong possibility. But I think Big Cass would benefit more if they let him go to SmackDown. The storyline could be Enzo may have lost a feud, but basically the night after he ends up winning a championship that Big Cass can't believe has happened. And that now, out of anger, Big Cass doesn't want to be on the same show. So what do? you have him quit Raw and say he's going to go sign with SmackDown, where he's going to be part of the land of opportunity, where he's going to thrive. He's going to be the success he was always meant to be. And knowing WWE, they could probably end up doing that. With Big Cass, and it would work. It would actually work in the end, because think about it. Some people have compared, here's what's funny. A lot of people have compared Big Cass and Carmella's roles right now as being similar to what you had with Edge and Lita. The only difference is Cass is on Raw, Carmella's on SmackDown. So what better way to maybe capitalize on that similarity than to send Cass to SmackDown in some way and have him align with Carmella, and thus in storyline have Carmella dump James Ellsworth to the side. Basically, have Carmella admit, hey, I've been using you the whole time. You think I really cared about you? You're wrong, because here's the guy that I really care about. Here's the guy that's always been big for me, that's always done things in a big way for me. That's done a lot of things, that's done things in a big way for me, if you know what I'm talking about. So that to me could be a benefit for Big Cass. That could be a benefit for Carmella, because at least you're saying, hey, at least just if you're WWE, you're saying, hey, people want to compare them to Edge and Lita. Let's go in that direction. The only difference is Cass is 7 feet tall. Edge was not. So to me, that is a perfect opportunity for them to capitalize on, and they just don't see it. They don't see it. They don't recognize it right now. But they don't recognize it right now. They don't see it. But I think in time they will. I think after this feud, my prediction, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, hey, that's fine. But my prediction, they're going to have a mini feud. It's going to go for about 3 to 4 matches. Cass is going to end up winning 2, if not 3, out of those matches. If it goes 4 matches, I see him winning 3 out of the 4. And I see, if it goes 3 matches, I can see him winning 2 out of the 3. But in the end, I see him leaving Raw to go to SmackDown, because the night after the feud ends, here you have Enzo Amore winning a championship by himself or with somebody else, something that he was never able to do with Big Cass. And you have Big Cass in a fit of anger say, hey, I don't want to be on this show with that creep, that idiot. I want out of here. I want out of here. And you have either Kurt Angle or Triple H or whoever, Stephanie, release him from his contract or let him leave. Or he quits. He just says, look, I've had enough. Enzo, you can have him go up to either Stephanie or Kurt or even Triple H and saying, hey, I've had enough of this crap. I thought, I thought leaving Enzo in the dust would make me a successful guy, but it's not happened. You can basically have him say, look, I don't want to be on the same show as a guy that I thought was going to be reduced to nothing, winning a championship. I don't want to be on the show. And you can have him leave. You can have him leave. You can have him either quit, ask for his release, and he'll go to and then, like I said, you can have him go to SmackDown, pair him up with Carmella, have him basically do like a tiny feud, not like something with Enzo, but basically a one-off match with James Ellsworth, beat the crap out of Ellsworth, and then you could start focusing on them being the Edge and Lita of this generation's Edge and Lita of SmackDown Live. To me, the storyline sets itself up perfectly, because if there's rumors going around that, according to Brian Alvarez, Daniel Bryan may consider stripping Carmella of the briefcase tonight and setting up a rematch. Hey, there's the building block right there. There's part of the building block right there to make that possibility happen. You know, you may say, hold on for a sec. You know, you may say, well, that sounds good and everything, Brian, but Vince likes to have his big men on his flagship show. How do you know he would allow it to happen? I'm not saying he would. I'm just saying from a storyline perspective, it could really work. Because you could allow Enzo to try to thrive on Raw as a champion. Like say, you know, like I said, you know, you have him win a championship even though he lost the night before at SummerSlam to Cass. You have him win a championship. Maybe, like I said, the Intercontinental title, the tag title. And you have Cass out of frustration not wanting to be there because he thought, you know, getting rid of Enzo would keep him out of Enzo's shadow, but he's still in it. So you have him basically say, hey, I want off of Raw. I either quit Raw, you either have him go up to Kurt Angle or somebody and say, hey, I thought getting rid of this guy would get me out of his shadow, but somehow he's still more popular, he's still more successful than I am. I want out of here, let me out of here. And you can have Kurt say, okay, you want out? Fine. Fine, you're out of your contract. Let's see what you can do. Let's see what you can do, where you're going to go. And you can have Big Cass say, hey, I'm going to go to SmackDown, the land of opportunity. I'm going to go there and I'm going to become the success I should be. And again, it would work in the long run because let's say Carmella gets stripped tonight and she doesn't win the briefcase back. You can have her out of frustration, get angry out of frustration, just be upset at Ellsworth, be upset at SmackDown and say, you know, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my real man over here, my true protection action. I'm going to do, and you can have her even say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get Cass onto SmackDown now that he's free of that freak Enzo. You can have her do that. And again, it would work in because then it would tie in because then you'd spend several weeks, the next month or two, the next month or so with Big Cass doing his feud with Enzo, and then after that's all said and done, and you go in the direction where Enzo ends up winning the championship, like I say, maybe the night of the week after he lost the feud to Cass, that could be enough to infuriate Cass to want to leave Raw and go to SmackDown, and that could happen. That could happen. Now, what would be interesting about that is on SmackDown you have a Money in the Bank winner in Baron Corbin. What would be interesting is a lot of people pretty much feel that, hey, Baron's good as a heel, but there are questions going around that how good could he be as a babyface? You know, how good could he be as a babyface? And to me, he could be very good. He could be, in a sense, the Diesel, the version of Diesel that was in his final run, his final few months or so, final 6 months or so with the company. You can have him be the Diesel, that Diesel that slaps hands with people that maybe howl or maybe, you know, compliment him or do something saying he is the man around here. And you can have him just ignore people that boo him. You know, you could have him be a cool anti-hero. Because then here you would have Big Cass come along with Carmella at his side, and maybe you do something similar to what Edge did. You have Big Cass challenge Corbin to a Money in the Bank match, one-on-one, regular match, and you have Big Cass, with the help of Carmella, take the Money in the Bank briefcase away from Corbin. Storyline-wise, it works, because then you give Cass the key to finally achieve his goal of being the guy, being the star, being the future, being where the money is. And I also want you to think about this too. They could have saved this reveal for the middle of Raw, for the second half of Raw, for the opening of the third half of Raw. You could have people, and you could have the commentators comment on it throughout the night. After it happens, have them commentate throughout the night. You could do a follow-through backstage with the reaction by everybody. But they didn't do that. Instead, they put it in the main event slot, the closing slot of Raw. Why? Because they have big plans for both Enzo and Cass. And that's why I mentioned the possibilities that they can go with. You know, you could go with this mini feud between them, and that'd be great. But in the end, what does it really do? Even if Cass ends up winning? It does a little bit. It does something for Cass, and in a sense, it kind of does something for Enzo. But WWE, if they really want to be creative with the storylines, they could say, hey, look, Enzo may have lost the feud, but 24 hours later on Raw, he's become a champion. He's become tag team champion. He's become intercontinental champion. And from a storyline aspect, this could infuriate Cass. Like, how could this guy that I beat the crap out of for most of this feud become a champion before me? I thought I was going to be the man. I thought I was going to be where the money is. And out of frustration, like I said, you can have him quit Raw, end up signing with SmackDown Live, aligning with Carmella, having Carmella, and that's at the same time have Carmella, push Ellsworth to the wayside, right? And probably do a one-off match between Ellsworth and Cass, where Cass destroys him, and then you can go from there. The creative options are there. Because then you can have Baron Corbin maybe notice, hey, this guy from Raw is now suddenly on my territory. You can have Baron look at him as like, there's only room for one big guy around here, for one 7-footer around here. And you could have Baron get in his face, and this would be the opportunity, like I said, where Carmella and Big Cass could become like the Edge and Lita of this generation, because then you can have them kind of find a way to manipulate Corbin and put in the briefcase on the line, and then in said matchup you could have Cass, with help from Carmella, beat Corbin, and thus Cass becomes Mr. Money in the Bank. And not only does he become Mr. Money in the Bank, but then maybe the next week on SmackDown you can have him cash in on someone like let's say John Cena or Jinder Mahal or Randy Orton, depending on who the champion is. You can have him cash in either that same night, or you can have him cash in the following week, or even at the next SmackDown Live pay-per-view. And thus you make Cass a champion before the year's out. Because let's be honest, do you think they're going to let Cass even get close to the Universal title as long as Brock's got it? Do you think they're going to let him beat another heel like Miz, who's got the Intercontinental title? No. The point is, the best option in my opinion is for Cass to go to SmackDown, is find his way to SmackDown somehow and align him with Carmella. And to me, this is the most creative way you could do it. It's the most logical, sensible way. Because realistically, why would someone like Cass want to be on the same show as Enzo, who he thought would be nothing, and suddenly here's Enzo being a champion? Why would he want to be on the same show as a guy that he thought would be nothing and has suddenly become more successful than he ever could? Why would he want to be there? And again, this would be the opportunity they need to send Cass to SmackDown, because the doors are open for him there, or more open for him there, and they're more willing maybe to skyrocket him to the top and make him WWE champion. It makes more sense, because you have people on there like Jinder, like Randy, like John, that are willing to put someone like Cass over in a way. And I think, from what I understand, you even have someone like Baron that's willing to put someone like Cass over in a big way. So, my honest opinion, that's the best option for them to go with Big Cass. And yeah, again, I agree with Deluxe Man. I agree with OTR Essential because I know they'll do a video on this. I agree with anybody that's talked about it. You know, this was a much needed heel turn for Big Cass. This was much needed. You know, especially if you're not going to have guys like Kane around anymore. You're not going to have guys like Big Show around that much anymore. This was much needed. So, to me, my opinion is you do the feud with Enzo, you end it with Cass winning the feud, but then you play off the fact that even though Enzo lost, he still ends up becoming successful maybe the night after or the week after by becoming a champion. You have Big Cass infuriated by this to the point that he doesn't want to be on the same show with Enzo because even though he's beat him, all of a sudden this guy is a champion before he is. So you have him quit quit Raw, or get his release from Raw, have him go to SmackDown Live, align him with Carmella, do a one-off match with James Ellsworth, who he beats the crap out of, and go from there. And then maybe you, like I said, you do it to the point that Baron Corbin may notice, hey, you know, this guy has no business being here. I'm going to make sure there's only room for one 7-footer around here, one future star, one dynasty, you know, one future dynasty and stuff like that. And you have him come face to face with Cass. You have Cass and Carmella somehow manipulate Corbin and putting the briefcase on the line. And then, like I said, with help from Carmella, you have Big Cass win the briefcase. And again, from a story perspective, it makes a whole lot of sense. It makes more sense than people think. I mean, yes, I would like to see Baron Corbin as WWE champion because he's the kind of guy that it doesn't matter who's champion, he'll cash in, he'll beat you, he'll become champion. And he's the kind of guy that, if written right, won't want to defend the title unless the money is right. And he'll want to do it in big match situations. So even if, let's say, Daniel and Shane say, Baron, you're going to defend at the next SmackDown Live pay-per-view, you can have Baron say, no, I'm not going to do it because it's not a big enough payday for me to defend. So that could work for Baron Corbin, but I think the best option for them is to basically have Big Cass go to SmackDown, align with Carmella, find a way to manipulate, storyline-wise, manipulate Baron Corbin and putting the briefcase on the line, beating Baron for it, and then maybe maybe later that night or the next week, have him cash in on whoever the champion is, and thus, within a short amount of time, or at least before the year's out, Big Cass is exactly what he said he was going to be, and that's successful. That's a champion. You have him fulfill what he said he was going to do, and you have him do it on the one brand he's most likely to do it on and be successful on. So, again, like I said, I'm cool with this. I'm cool with the feud. I'm cool with the heel turn. It is believable. I mean, even Deluxe Man, who's a hardcore fan, said it really, you know, sucked him in because how long have Enzo and Cass been a tag team? A long time. A very long time. And, you know, for WWE to do this, to invest so much time in it, and the fact that these guys are buddies on the outside, so that real life chemistry makes this more real and more personal. You know, what else could you do with Enzo and Cass? What else could you do? What other direction could you go? But my opinion, like I said, but I do agree. It was much needed. I'm sure the Schleg Daddy at OTR Central may agree with it. But again, like I said, what other direction could you go? What other direction could you go with these two? And like I said, the best option for them is to find a way to get Big Cass out of Raw and onto SmackDown. Align him with Carmella, and maybe find a way to make him champion before the year's out, even if he has to find a way to manipulate Corbin into defending his briefcase against him, where, well, like I said, with the help of Carmella, Corbin gets screwed out of. So I think, again, that's the most logical option in my opinion. But really, that's just my live thoughts on the whole Big Cass heel turn on Enzo last night. Those are just my thoughts and opinions on where I think it's going to go, you know, match-wise, how long the feud will go match-wise, and what direction I think they should take afterwards. So if you agree with me, let me know down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you guys. Thank you for watching live. I've got about 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to get something quick to eat. And I am out. God bless. Take care. I'm done.